This call is now being
This
recorded.
is Global Tel-Link. You have a prepaid call from
Alejandro Romero.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel-Link.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Alejandro. How's it going today?
I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
Pretty good, thank you. And I want to go ahead and welcome you to You Have a Collect Call From.
Okay, thank you for having me.
I'm glad you could make it. And can you go ahead and introduce yourself into to the audience, please, and just give like a small, I guess like a bio about yourself.
Well, my name's Alejandro Romero. Right now, I'm in Centinela State Prison. I'm serving a 25 to life sentence for first-degree murder. What else do you mean with the bio? What do you mean? What else would you want me to say on that?
I think that's perfect. That's a good start right there.
Okay.
All right, and I want to ask you. So, where you originally, or where did your family originally come from?
I have Mexican parents. My father, he's from Michoacan, and my mother, she was born and raised in Ciudad Juárez de Chihuahua. And but I was born right here in the U.S. in LA.
Okay, and then as a child, what's the earliest memory that you had as a kid growing up?
Hmm. You know, that this is the first time I get asked this. And I don't know why. I was actually speaking to this about it to my family not too long ago. Like one of the memories
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
that comes to me always when I get asked that question it's I'm about like maybe like I would say like 5 years old, and I remember my pop passed me on his shoulder, and we come from a like a family of 8 and low income family, lower class family. So my pop's always been a man of like that worked real hard to get what we have, and what he couldn't get from his 9 to 5 job, he would go out and collect cans, any type of scrap metal to make ends meet. And I remember in the afternoon, it was this memory is like sometime in the afternoon, like I would say in the evening already, getting close to dark, and we're walking through complexes. He has me on his shoulders, and we're going to the dumpsters of the apartments complexes that are around our house, and we're picking up cans, and but the whole time that we're doing this, because I grew up with a like a speech I don't know, impairment. I don't think it's correct, because I used to stutter, and I like couldn't pronounce words right, and he always used to like have me pointing at he would point at things and have me like pronounce them, and if I got it wrong, he would correct me until I got it right, and eventually, I'm not the best of speaker, but I was able to correct my wordings and the way I spoke through him because of that. But that's like the most fond memory that I could think of, the earliest memory I could get, and I don't know why that always comes into mind.
Wow, so it sounds like your dad, he really, he went above and beyond, to try to get you guys those extra things, that as a kid, mattered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So,
I've always respected my father for that. He's
yeah,
always been a good man. Always.
yeah, my hats off to him. He sounds like a good dude. And what part of did you grow up in LA, or what part of the city did you grow
Yes.
up in?
I a small city. I didn't grow up just in one city. I grew up like we used to move a lot. I don't know what my mom had a thing about. Like we never stood in a place um for longer than six. I think the longest was like about a year that we stood in one place. But she moved around a lot, and I didn't really grow up in like one specific area, but um I lived all over LA. But where I bounced around the most was in the like the south side area of LA, in city from like Cudahy, Maywood, Bell, um, Bell Gardens, Downey. So in that area, I bounced around a lot to those areas, and that's where I got me like really influenced me to the neighborhood I got into. That's why I became from where I'm from,
And
or
moving
I was from.
moving around so much, was it hard for you to establish like friends and whatnot, or did it affect you in any way,
Mm,
be like building relationships like that with people?
yeah, that it's funny that you asked that because not too just recently that I started like trying to better myself and start getting answers, looking for answers for like the brokenness in me, like and a lot. And I discovered that that's one of the reasons why I have troubles like committing. I have like because moving around so much at first I used to try to make friends, but it was hard because you come into the new schools late in the year. Everybody got their little crowds already going, and most of the time I was by myself, And at towards like the later years growing up, I kind of gave up on making friends when I would go to a new school. You know what I mean? I because I knew that I was going to move, so um, I knew that it was pointless for me to try to make friends. So what I didn't, the friends I didn't make in school, I started looking from like elsewhere, like in the neighborhoods, and because I knew that right there I could not move out of. I could change schools, but I was still gonna be in the same barrio regardless.
And until what age, or that happened your whole life, that she continued moving you guys around, or at some point did you just end up just living in one area for a long period of time, more than a year at a time?
Yeah, you know, um, I lived with my mom till with my parents till I was about 13 years old, um, and even I started running away. I started running away at that time when I was 13 because I just didn't want to follow rules anymore. And but before that, like that was like a constant issue. Like it wasn't other, and even after that, because I would end up getting busted and I had to go home because of my probation officer. Uh, it still affected me then, because even to just recently that she passed away, my mom always still did that. She would never stay in a place for longer than a year. She still moved around a lot. Obviously, now as a grown up, before I got busted, when I was married, that was when I actually like stood in a place for a few years before I will end up moving out for whatever reason. But it kind of stuck with me too because I never stayed in that place for, you know, I think the longest I stayed in a place was I think like 3 years, and I ended up moving away to another home. So I think it kind of stuck with me.
And you just mentioned that you were busted, and just to clarify, busted, you mean you were arrested and you ended up in juvenile hall, or you were just arrested?
In those times, yes. When the first time I got arrested was I was 13 years old, and I went to juvenile hall for vandalism. They caught me writing on the walls.
And by this age, you had already joined your local neighborhood, or you were just vandalizing because that was the thing to do.
Well, at that time, I was a tagger. I started off as a tagger, and even though I knew the homeboys that I later on were to be my homeboys from the neighborhood, um, I wasn't from the neighborhood yet because my older brother, he like didn't want me to get into the barrio, you know. So it wasn't until he got busted that I was able to get into the barrio. But I started as a tagger. When I got busted for vandalism, I was a tagger.
Okay, you know what? And I apologize. I overlooked the question. So right now you mentioned that you had an older brother. How many brothers and sisters did you have? Oh, you said eight, right? Was it eight brothers or eight siblings?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
well, we were eight in total. It was five women and three men, including me. Now it's I have one. My older sister passed away like about 2 years ago, around this time actually, November 13, 2021, when she passed away. She's gonna be 2 years. So now there's seven of us left.
My condolences to you losing your sister and your mother. I heard
Thank you.
you mentioned it a few
This
minutes ago.
call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And right now that you mentioned that you
Yes.
were into, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, 'cause you said about my mom. Yeah, she passed away on May 23rd of this year.
Okay, so when your sister and your mom passed away, you were incarcerated, right?
Yes.
And when you have a family member that passes away, how does the administration or the prison handle that? To notify you of your family members passing.
Uh, well, when they notified my when my sister passed away, it wasn't when COVID was still going around, uh, and there was a lot of lockdowns, modified programming because of it. And my my when my sister passed away, my one of my younger sisters tried to get in a hold of the prison, and they could not. Like they would not get no answers, and they ended up telling me by by mail on the letter. And to be honest, I didn't even know that my sister was going in those times that she was going through that type of health issues. Um, it wasn't because of COVID that she passed away, but it was because of her lung. She had some kind of lung disease, but I wasn't aware of like that she was sick like that until I got the letter that she had passed away. Um, and when my mom passed away, um, they just called me over to the counselor's office and put my brother on the phone with me and had my brother tell me. Um, they did they did have me see the psych about it to see if I was going to try to hurt myself or felt like hurting anybody else or anything of the sort. Just for precaution, I would assume, but I think they could find better ways to let us know about, or I don't know about better ways, or like a better um there's room for improvement. That's what I'm trying to say. In they just gotta. I just feel that they don't take our feelings and our like reaction in consideration. They just doing their part, the minimum, and I think that's all they do. Because I know they could do they could go about it a better way, but
You have 60 seconds remaining.
How do you think would be a better way to improve? Them notifying you of, or anybody that's lost a loved one while they're incarcerated. How do you think they could improve? Making it or notifying them.
well, I think it has a um, it has to do with both ends of the both sides to make it a little bit better. Family members should let us know what's really happening and outside, not trying to hurt our feelings. That the reason they don't is because they're trying to not hurt us, or for us not. They think that because we're in here, we're gonna break if they tell us a certain news of that sort. But they need to keep that in mind, that information like that is important for us, so we could be ready. And when
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the call just dropped right now. Normally, after 15 minutes, the call automatically disconnect, and the prompt normally notifies you at the 60-second mark. So he'll go ahead and give us a call back within the next few moments and whatnot. And just for anybody that's listening out there right now, we are live, so this is actually happening in real time. And if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and type them up and drop in a comment in the chat, and I'll go ahead and ask them as soon as I can, or as soon as we get a break. And any questions you have, or if you're curious, or anything comes to mind, feel free to go ahead and drop in a comment in the chat. And there we go.
This call is now being recorded.
This is Global Tel-Link. You have a prepaid call from
Alejandro Romero.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel-Link.
Alejandro, thank you for calling us back. So right now, before the call was disconnected, you were mentioning that that you think, or you feel that if you're incarcerated and you have a loved one that's sick, it would probably be a good idea to notify your loved one and let them know, kind of keep them in the loop of what's going on with that loved one. So like that, you're kind of ready for when it does come around. You're not blindsided.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
exactly.
Yeah.
And with now we got tablets. Now we're able to do video calls, and it helps. I believe for everybody, it helps to be able to say your goodbyes to your loved ones, um, your I'm sorry, apologize for what you felt that where you went wrong, especially with when you lose a mother, especially when you lose a parent, yeah, as growing up and you know in the lifestyle that we're in, we do a lot of shit that I'm excuse my language. We do a lot of things that hurt our parents along the way, and when we grow up and if we start to acknowledge all those things, we always want to be able to like talk to them and apologize for all the things that we did to make them go through it. I say that now as a parent too. I understand um, what they used to tell me. Growing up, how we don't take consideration of their thoughts and their feelings, and we really don't. And now that I'm a parent, like I realize all the bad that I did to them. And I would have liked to been able to like maybe have a video call with her and had seen her one last time before she left and say my apologize for all the things that I did to her.
And just to
There's a lot of ways.
just to get clarification,
Yeah, there's a lot of ways.
you're speaking about your mom, right? Apologizing to
Yes,
your mom. Okay.
yes.
All right. And then when your mom passed away, did you guys already have tablets there at the facility? And how long have you had the tablets at the facility you're currently at?
We got them like mid-March, around that time. Yeah, well, mid-March. So when my mom passed, we already had them. So that would have been able to, ease uh, the news. Because I knew that she was sick with her, I kind of already knew she had been going to the hospital, but I didn't know it was. I didn't know the seriousness of it. And again, was because my family was trying not to for me not to worry or hurt. Uh, but they kept on telling me that she was okay, that she was gonna pull through it. And when they called me and told me that she had passed, it was kind of hard.
Yeah, I can't even imagine going through something like that, being incarcerated and then having a loved one passing away. But I'm gonna go ahead and switch back to the original topic we were speaking about. You had mentioned that you had got you had gotten arrested for graffiti or vandalism. I have a question.
Yes,
So during this time, I'm assuming this is like maybe sometime in like the early '90s, mid '90s.
yes, yes.
Uh,
Early '90s.
do you remember? Did you ever watch Fox Undercover or Fox News Channel 11?
Yes,
Do you remember when they used to run that segment that segment Fox Undercover with damn, you know what, I can't even remember his name, but what they would do like graffiti wars or party crews or when they featured certain neighborhoods or when they started the craze of tag
yeah,
bangers.
yes.
What did that, do you think that had any influence on you as far as wanting to be getting involved in graffiti or gang banging?
No, no. I don't think. I mean, I remember seeing those because we used to stay up to be able to see them. You know, because that's always been. You know, I've always been attracted to this lifestyle. Like I said, I have an older brother and some other older cousins that were in the gangbanging lifestyle. And since I was a little kid, I remember chasing them around, trying to follow, see where they were going, see what they were doing, always wanting to be around them. So I was already I mean, in a personal level, I was attracted to the lifestyle, you know. But I started as a gangbanger because that was the. I mean, I started as a tagger because that was the only way to kind of get a feel of it without being in a neighborhood, you know, because like I said at the time, my brother didn't want to let my homeboys jump into the neighborhood, so I started just tagging because that was kind of like the closest to being a gang banger, you know what I mean? Was being a tagger.
Yeah.
And little by little, the tag bagging came into effect, where all the taggers were starting to bang against one another. That's where
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And so on your first arrest for vandalism, were you just arrested or the cops just take you home, or did you actually end up going to juvenile hall on your first arrest?
well, they took me to the station, and my parents picked me up. But when I went to court, the judge sent to me to do a 90 day. Back then, there was a program for like vandalism called the Ricardo M program, which was a 90-day a 90-day lockup, and kind of was kind of like to like a kind of like a scare straight kind of thing. Um, so I did 90 days in the juvenile hall, and after that I was released.
Man, that's rough right there on your first arrest, actually getting sentenced to Ricardo M on your first case. That's I don't think I've ever heard anybody actually getting Ricardo M on their first case. Man, you didn't have the judge didn't give you a break, man.
Yeah. Also, you heard of the Ricardo M program that they had back in those days?
Yeah, no, I remember. I did a one or two Ricardo M's, but I think I only got like 10 days or 2 weeks or something like that. It was nothing like that. I never when I was in Ricardo M, I don't remember anybody getting that. That's because that's the max they could sentence you to, and for the
Yeah.
house
Yep.
was 90 days. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I remember Ricardo M.
Yeah.
In Ricardo M, I did Ricardo M in Eastlake. Did they also send you to
Yeah. That's
Eastlake?
where I was at too.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. That's where I did. That was where the program was at, behind the wall.
Mm-hmm.
on the other end by A and B units.
Yeah, yeah, right past the field and the gym.
Yeah. Yep. Wow, that's it. You're the first person that I run into that remembers that.
Yeah, no, I clearly remember all of that, man. I remember, I mean, I stopped, like young, I never went to prison or anything like that, but like all that stuff, like the experience that I had, through the halls, East Lake, Los Padrinos, Silmar, then
Yeah.
going to camp.
Yo, man.
Yeah, I remember all of
Camp.
that. Like all that stuff, it
Yeah.
sticks with me, like all those like things that happen, and I carry with them, to this day. I think about it maybe like once a day, and it's a trip, man. Like how that stuff, it's embedded in you, and you carry with you every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. That those are like things that to the very end are gonna be like part of you, part of the memories. You know, to this day, I remember exactly everything as it was, and it's crazy because you would think that you know, bad memories like that you would want to forget, but for some reason they engrave in you and they stay with you. I remember at the last on my last day, I was supposed to get released. I ended up staying like maybe a few hours extra because they couldn't find my paperwork. And man, and I was 13 years old, and I was all happy about going home. And when they told me that they shot me right back and told me that I wasn't gonna go home because they couldn't find my paperwork, I started crying. 90 days. I
Man,
look back to it and I remember I laugh about it because 90 days is like, man, I wish now I could do only 90 days.
I cried the first time I went there, and it wasn't because I was there. It was because I used to hate needles. So when you would get processed in, they would fingerprint you,
Yeah,
take your picture, and then on the last thing, the nurse would come over and she would give you some shots. And at that time, I used to hate needles. I don't like them now, but now I'll deal with it. But back then, I
yeah,
refused. Like I was like, nah, you guys are not gonna give me any shots. And surprisingly, they didn't give me any shots. They were like, you know what? If you're still here by Monday, you're gonna get shots. But luckily, I didn't. My mom
yeah.
finally figured out where I was at, and she came to pick me up. But yeah, they told me they were giving me shots, and man, I started crying like uncontrollably. I was like, nah, nah, no, not today.
Uh, yeah. Well, when you first, that was the thing, the process, and it's like that anywhere. You come to prison, it's basically almost the same thing. When you first come in, it's a whole little process that you go through, and when medical gets a hold of you, man, they poking you, drawing blood, giving you shots, doing this, doing.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
It doesn't change. Only the scenery changes, but the system itself, it all runs the same. Juvenile hall, camp, prison, county jail, it's all the same thing.
Well, you know what? Now that I look back on it, it's like all of that stuff is just conditioning you to to accept that you could do time. That's all it does to you. It's just conditioning you, especially as at a young age. Pretty much everybody around me was going through the same thing. We were all getting arrested. We were all going to camp. We were going to the halls. Some people went to YA, and other people went to prison. So, we were just all being conditioned, to accept, being in those places.
Yeah, yeah. Come to think of it, I mean, now that you put it that, I never saw it that way, but yeah, you're right.
So did they ever end up finding your PDJ file to release you, or did they end up keeping you
Yeah,
longer than?
it was no, well, maybe after they shot me back and put me back in the cell, what was it? Maybe like 3 hours later, which the whole time I was there crying like a baby. They came back and got me, and ended up releasing me that night.
So doing those 90 days, did they have an effect on you? Did they change the way that you were thinking at that time, or was it like whatever, like I could do 90 days, you like, and I'm assuming when you came back,
No, what?
go ahead.
Well, look, it's like when you're doing the time, and I anybody that's listening that has the time is gonna got to agree with this, man. When you're doing the time, was the whole time you're saying, I'm never coming back, I'm done, this is my first and only time, or this is my last time, that's it. You know what I mean? But the moment we hit those doors, man, that when you're released, you forget about all that. You forget about all the promises you made to God. You forget all the promises you made to yourself that you're gonna change and this and that, and go right back to, because when I did that time, like I remember I was miserable the whole time, and especially because I'm from a neighborhood that nobody gets along with. Still, yeah, even in those times, I was gonna say, in those times maybe there was some neighborhoods who got along with, but no, very few people liked others liked us, and I was everywhere I went, everybody wanted to fight me, and
You have 60 seconds remaining.
so I remember being miserable, and I remember telling myself, I'm never coming back. That's it. This is the last time. This is my first and only time. And man, that was only the first out of many times that I ended up going to jail. I would like to say that it had an effect on me, but it really, in reality, didn't. Because if it would have, I wouldn't have gone back. I would have done my best not to get locked up again.
Yeah. All right. I know it's gonna cut off. Do you want to go ahead and just give us a call back
Yeah.
before it automatically cuts off? All right. Thank you.
Yes. All right.
So right now he's gonna go ahead and call us back because the call's automatically cut off after 15 minutes. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to go ahead and ask those questions, and I'll go ahead and read them off as soon as we have a moment.
This call is now being recorded.
This is Global Tel Link. You have a prepaid call from
Alejandro Romero.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
All right. Thank you for calling back. So you come home and after your 90-day Ricardo M time. So what is it that you're doing when you come back?
Well, the next day I had to report to my probation officer. I remember that much. And after I reported to my probation officer, I went straight to go kick it with the homies. My mom went home. As soon as we pulled up, she went inside the house, and I told her, I'll see you later, I'll be back. And I took off, kick it with the homies. Went back to the drawing board.
And once and how long were you put on probation for at that time?
Usually, for it, I don't know if it's still the same now, but back in the days, if for whatever time, if you end up doing time, you will get 3 years probation with the possibility of getting off after 1 year if you did good and comply with everything. So I remember when I got put on probation for that was 3 years, and I ended up staying in probation through my juvenile life.
And how long did it take you to violate your juvenile probation?
I think it was like a couple of weeks later. That's when I ran away from home, because I remember my mom. I had strict parents, and my parents were, every time that I started messing up, they had that leverage on me that I had probation, and I remember every time that I did something that she didn't like, she would threatened me. You know, man, I'm gonna call your probation officer. And one day I just decided um, to jump out the window and going out. I ended up going to my homie's house and stood with him for a little bit. Um, and yeah,
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And
I
did
don't think it was not even a month after
and when you violated,
I
what were the consequences?
when I got pulled over, I ended up going back to juvenile hall again. And it just became a cycle like that. I would go to juvenile hall for violating my probation, being there for 5 6 months. If it was just a violation, if I picked up a new case, I was doing whatever time that the charge carried, and it was just a cycle that I was in. I would go to jail, get out, I'll report to my probation officer, and the moment that I got tired of my mom nagging on me about for whatever reason, I would take off again, and it would start all over again.
And did you ever go to placement, YA or do any camp programs?
I went. I didn't go to no placement zones, and I remember I used to like pray to God that I would get sent to placement zones, because those are like Camp Snoopy compared to the juvenile halls and to the camps. But no, I did only juvenile hall time and camp time. Um, I didn't make it to YA. The couple of times that I was facing YA time, I ended up beating my cases and would end up going home. I didn't make the YA.
And from the time you started doing graffiti or vandalizing, how long did it take you to join your neighborhood? Because I remember you mentioning that you were doing graffiti at 13. So how long did it take you to progress
Yeah,
and make the next step?
maybe like 6 months. About 6 months after I started, that I was tagging, because I was almost 14 years old when I was already from the neighborhood I'm from.
And you had mentioned that your brother went to prison. He went to prison during that time.
Yes, that's the reason I was able to get in, because it wasn't there to stop my homies from jumping in.
And by the time you went to camp, what kind of case did you catch to end up in camp?
The first time I went was for uh, conceal weapon.
And how long was your commitment to the camp system for?
The first time was 6 months,
Oh,
and
so you went.
then uh, yeah, it was a couple of times. The second time I went a year, and then after that, I ended up going to juvenile hall, and I was in juvenile hall for about a year and a half, fighting a case that they wanted to send me to YA for 15 years.
And what ended up happening? What kind of case was it that you caught that they wanted to send you to YA for?
In an attempted, started as an attempted, and at the end ended up getting dismissed. But it started at an attempted, and they started dropping it because they didn't have the sufficient evidence. Went from attempted to assault with a firearm, and then just to aggravated assault, and then they ended up dismissing it.
And the person that was or the victim, they didn't. I'm assuming they didn't show up to court. They weren't. They stopped making any statements if they
No,
had made any.
yes, that's the reason why.
In a case like that, let's say somebody makes a statement to the police when they possibly think they're dying, so they're giving like their last declaration, and then
hmm
they stop showing up to court. Is that still going to affect them, during their gang career?
Well, because initially, Yes, it does to a certain extent, depending of how much detail. Because I mean, obviously, you make a certain, you have to. The cops will ask you your questions, and you could say a certain amount of information as long as you don't implicate nobody or like directly tell on the person. Um, I mean, a lot of people what they do is just make up or fake, I mean, something random just to tell the cops. You know what I mean? But in my case, they they wanted to pick me up straight to my house. So yeah, that person that told on me um, directly pointed me out.
Okay. I actually have a question from the live chat right here, so I'm gonna go ahead and ask it to you. There's a
Okay.
it's Kaylin Place is asking, is he with two fivers? That's what they want to know.
No, no. Uh, uh, no, I don't believe. I don't. I was never in like. I've never been into prison politics, so I've always believed that. I just never been attracted to none of that. You know what I mean? So no, I'm not.
Okay. Thank you for answering that question there, and we'll go ahead and get back to your original story. So you ended up beating the case. You get a DA reject or whatever it's called, and
Dismissal.
a dismissal, and and that's kind of rare, for the juvenile system. 'Cause for the juvenile system, they really don't need that much to move forward, and pretty much the judge is the person that's going to decide whether they're going to convict you or not. So, you lucked out on that one there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, back in those days, that was the thing that whether it was juvenile or adult, the only difference that separated both from juvenile and adult was the fact that in juvenile you only face the judge, and as an adult you have to go through a jury trial. But the beauty of everything back in the day was that you needed evidence against you. You needed uh, witnesses or victims to point you out and to um, like basically make that case against you. Um, and if they didn't have the sufficient evidence back in the 90s, 80s, 90s, they you will not get convicted. It is not. It's not like it is now that even just for people saying that, oh, I heard this guy brag about this, or he said this, just for hearsay, they're giving people life for stuff like that. When a lot of times people just brag and never really do nothing and end up getting convicted over something they didn't even do.
And do you remember what court were you going to at that time for juvenile
Uh,
court?
in those times, because where I lived at, I was going to Los Padrinos Juvenile Court
And do you remember
on
what?
Old River School, Old, Old River School Road, or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, right next to that golf course right there on Imperial, right?
Yes, yes, yep.
I only went there once, and it wasn't great.
Yeah, exactly.
And by the time, so you were there a year and a half. By this time, by the time by the time the case is dismissed, how old are you by the time you come home?
At that time when this particular case happened, I got out. I was 17 years old, a little bit over. I had turned 17 in there. I got busted when I was 15 and some change, and I turned 17 in there.
And by this time, are you still on probation, or have you terminated?
Yeah, well, no, I was because when I got arrested, I was on probation. They just reinstated my probation. They couldn't add more time. Like, so usually if you catch a new case, they give you another 3 years of probation. Like, you started off at, like, if you didn't do no probation time, you started off at 3 years again. And in this case, because I didn't do no actual time, I did the time fighting the case, but I didn't get convicted of it. They just reinstated me back onto my old probation that I was on for, which I think at the time was for 211, the first time. The like that first the time before that case, it was a 211, I believe.
And earlier on, you mentioned that you had the two camp programs. The first camp program you did 6 months, and the second camp program you did a year. On your first camp program, what year was it in, and how long? I mean, and what camps did you go to?
Uh, it was in, I think it was like in '94 when I did my first time. I got sentenced to 6 months uh, camp. It started off in LP, then they took me to Silmar to because everybody went to Silmar because that was like the kind of like the camp base where they got you prepped for camp, and then they took us to Challenger, which was like kind of the reception of the camps, and then I went to Camp Page, which was a fire camp.
And then on your second camp program, what year and what camps did you go there? Did you go to then?
It was the following year because when I got out, I stood out there maybe like a couple months, and then I ended up getting arrested again. Um, on the second one, I went to Camp Kilpatrick. That's where I did. Well, did it right there, and then they moved me to Camp Gonzalez for fights. And Camp Gonzalez was kind of like a lockdown camp.
Okay, so so let's go back to you
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
when you're 17, you get out and you're on probation. At this time, are you still thinking about messing around, or are you thinking about switching up your life and trying something new?
No,
You have 60 seconds remaining.
at that age, that's when like I think I was like the most committed into the gangbanging. Now I was getting out just thinking I can't wait till I get out so I could go kick it with the homies. You know, I remember when I got out that time. It's gonna hang up. You want me to just call you right back?
Yeah, please, yeah. Go ahead and call me back, and we'll be here waiting for you. There is a few people listening to us now, so we are getting some type of traction.
Okay. All right.
All right, and for those of you just joining us right now or not aware, we are actually we're actually streaming this live right now. So he is gonna be calling me back shortly. And if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and drop those questions in the comment, and I'll go ahead and ask them as they come in. Everybody that's in here right now, have you guys watched any of the other videos? Give me a moment.
This call is now being recorded.
This is Global Tel Link. You have a prepaid call from
Alejandro Romero.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Okay, Alejandro, I'm gonna go ahead and give the mic to you. You're in the middle of answering a question before she announced that we only had 60 seconds left.
Yes. Where was I? Where was I at?
So I had asked you if at 17 when you beat that case and it got dismissed, were you thinking about changing your life, or were you still on that path?
Yeah, no. Like I said, at that age, I think I was like that's when I was like the most committed to the gangbanging, and during the time I was in juvenile hall, like I was already like fighting left and right because of where I was from, and I remember like I used to think like, man, I can't wait till I get out so I could go kick it with the homies. Those were like my thoughts at those times now. So no, I don't think. No, I wasn't thinking of changing my ways. No, that's where I think those were like the funnest years that I had in the gambling years.
I just had somebody ask a question in here. The question is coming from NUFC 1982, and he wants to know if he's asking, is there any booty bandits in prison?
Hey, that's I don't know. What you know what? I'm assuming there is, because there's those damn it, there's those rumors of that happening, but like really in reality, no, there's like nobody, like, at least I've never seen it. You know what I mean? There's those stories that you hear that stuff like that happens, but I've never seen it with my eyes. And like, if fools are giving up their booties, it's because they want to, not because they're taking it from you.
Would you say when it comes to stuff like that, if somebody's easily manipulated, then that's how normally it happens, just by manipulation?
No, I think that it's just like, I mean, I don't see how anybody could be manipulated into uh, like doing anything that any sort of act like that. You know what I mean? I think that if they end up going agreeing to do anything like that, it's because they already have it in them. It's that they already have those gay tendencies. But like manipulation like that, no, to manipulate you to give up your manhood, no. I don't think that it happens like that.
And then this next question is coming in from the same individual, NUFC 1982, and he's asking,
Mm.
does the gang look after his family with food, shopping, or money while he's in jail? So he wants to know if your
No.
former street gang was looking out for your family during your incarceration.
Well, no. They, I mean, there are those few that, and they're very seldom. They're few, man. There are very few of them that will ask you or go to your family and ask if they need anything. But the majority of homies, they, once you get busted, they forget about you. They forget that you're doing time. For most of the time that I did was for somebody else. Uh, they don't care about asking about your how your family doing. And if you're married, they're the first ones that are trying to hit at your wife or your girlfriend. Once you get busted, if you got a good-looking wife or girlfriend, they're the first ones that are gonna to try to hit on them. Eh? So, uh, no, that's where a lot of people are wrong at it. You know, growing up when I was in the gambling years and my gambling times, I used to see my homeboys as my family. I used to like literally think that I would die, for my homies. You know what I mean? Like I got my homeboys back to the fullest, eh? But when you see the reality of things and how they backstab you and how they like the first chance they get, they're trying to like get over on you. You start to realize a lot of things. And little by little, we start seeing it as time goes by. We don't see it at first. At first, we're all blinded by the fun and games about the gambling life. But really, in reality, it's far from a family.
Thank you for answering that, and I apologize for getting sidetracked on here on your story. So we'll go ahead and pull you back
No
to
problem.
your story. But I think this is kind of cool right here. Where people could interact with us or
Yeah,
interact with you. During the middle of your interview. Some people are curious. Some people have never been incarcerated, or maybe they're curious about the justice system or the penal system in the United States, because it's a lot different from other countries and whatnot. So I think it's a
yeah,
pretty cool thing to do out here.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so um, what was I don't recall what was the last part that we left on where you said that you continued going down the same path.
Yeah, but what,
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
like I said, no, in those times I wasn't no, I don't really ever thinking about like thinking of like changing my ways. And like I said, the first thing I did, or the first thing I think about getting out in those times was to go kick it with the homies. So um, yeah, when I got out that time, I remember like 2 3 hours later, I was already in the neighborhood trying to find the homies, see where they were all at.
And how long did it take you for you to pick up a case as an adult?
Well, when I got out that time, I like I said, it was a cycle. I got out. I reported to my probation officer. He told me what was expected of me, whatever. Same thing. Same, like I said, it was just a cycle. As soon as I got out from the office, I went back to kicking in the neighborhood. And as soon as that, my mom started nagging me about the times I got home, or that she didn't want the homies going to the house and whatnot, I would bounce again. I left again, and I wasn't even 18 years old um, when I caught my first adult case. I was still 17. They pulled me over. I had a gun on me, and because I think I was like a week away from being turning 18. Um, I ended up doing county time. I was in the juvenile hall, but because while I was in there, I turned 18. They bonded over to adult court, and I ended up getting a county lid for that gun. This was in 90, 97, 98, somewhere around there. I barely had turned 18. Um, and in those times, if you got a county year, you would only do like maybe like 3 months, because the jail was so packed. They were like releasing people all the time. I remember I did like 3.5 months on that year, for that year that I got for that gun case.
And during this time in the county, this is when you could still have your shoes, right? You didn't have the black flip flops, right? Or the black Bruce Lee's.
No, this was, yeah. We used to use those as pillows, so we wouldn't they wouldn't end up missing it, because in the county jail is that's a wicked place. That's only the strong survive in that move.
Yeah, that place is. Oh man.
Yeah, that,
If the wrong people didn't like you, man, you had it coming.
yeah. Then if you were all blasted in the face, all tatted, you were all like with gang tattoos. You were going to the gang module, or like the high power modules. Like, man, LA County Jail was, especially the old county. This was before the Twin Towers opened, so this was in the old county when you didn't see no daylight. Literally, you did not see no daylight. You were just stuck there, and it was all bad there.
Yeah, man, those 6-man cells or the 4-man cells. Whew.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I was in yeah, I think I was in all of them. I did a little bit in the trustee dorms. I got fired from my job. Uh, they shot me back to the 4-man cells. Yeah, it was crazy in there.
So you end up staying there for 3.5 months. You come back home, and what's your mindset when you come home?
Uh, at that time, my family had moved out to Orange County, and I went from LA. I was bouncing back from LA because I wasn't ready to, like, from going from one county to the other.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
So I would like come to LA and stay with the homies for a few months, and then go back to Orange County and sober up with the family for a few weeks, and I was just going back and forth. Um, but I was still in that mindset. I was still in that mindset. I wasn't thinking about slowing down at that time yet.
So how long did it take you now for you to catch a new case, or were you able to stay out for a longer amount of time?
Well, after that, I did the those uh, three 3.5 months for the gun, and then I went to Orange County, and I got it under the influence there. A few months after, I did like I think like 90 days on that, and then I caught a burglary. And what I did want though, out of all this, throughout the whole time, what I did want to avoid was to catch a state number. I didn't want to catch the chain of state. I figured that I was going to keep on getting busted. I just wanted to keep it local and do county time. But over there, Orange County is they're kind of rough over there, eh? On the second time I got busted over there, I got busted for a commercial burglary, and that's when I caught my first my first state term.
And for those
I
that
got a
are
60
not,
month term for
how long was your term for?
60 month term only with
And
half.
with that, and for those that are not familiar with commercial burglary, can you explain to us what that is exactly?
Commercial burglary is a crime that you do against any type of commercial or like any type of business that's not residential, because there's residential burglary and commercial burglary. And commercial burglary has to do any type of business. Could be a convenience store, it could be a warehouse, it could be anything that has to do with some type of business.
So you get sentenced to 16 months with halftime. How long were you in county before? Did you take a deal or did you take it to trial?
No, I ended up taking a deal because they caught me with everything that I couldn't try to fight.
And by the time that you took this deal, how long were you in county for?
Just if I remember correctly, it was just a few weeks. I went only to my arraignment, and then maybe a couple courts after that. And when they came at me with the first offer, because I didn't get busted by myself, I got busted with my older brother and my younger brother, and so my older brother wouldn't do too much time.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
We ended up taking the first deal that came to us, which seemed like a good deal for him as well. So we ended up signing it as soon as we could. So we were in the county for about maybe like 2 3 months at the most.
So you pretty much you just went to get your number and then you came right back out, because by the time you ended up going to state, you had already been in 3 4 months. You go upstate, get your number. You paroled like in 4 months, right? 3 4 months.
No, in those times, the way it worked is that if you had halftime, your halftime didn't kick in till you had an assignment. So I thought that I was gonna go and what you try to explain right now is called a turnaround, where you just go upstate, go to reception, get your number, and then kicks out. And that's basically what is called a turnaround. You don't like set foot on a righteous as an actual joint. And it's not.
Okay, so the call just went ahead and cut off. Like I mentioned earlier on before, these calls are only 15 minutes long, unfortunately, and they automatically cut off after 15 minutes. So he'll go ahead and give us a call back, and then we'll go ahead and continue with the interview. And hopefully you guys are enjoying it, and getting something positive out of this whole situation that he's currently in. And he's currently in for murder, and he was sentenced to 25 to life. So we're gonna go ahead and get into the details of his journey, and see how he ended up where he's currently at right now. And I wanted to ask you guys, is the audio does the audio sound nice and clear? Is it too low or is it too high? And are you guys getting notifications when the lives are coming on, or you guys just happen to be on? Oh, here we go.
This call is now being
This is
recorded.
Global Tel-Link. You have a prepaid call from
Alejandro Romero.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel-Link.
Okay, Alejandro, the mic's all yours.
Okay. I don't know where it got cut off, all right, but I was saying that in total from the time I got busted at times to I got released, I did about 11 months, I would say, out of that 60-month term. Because, like I said, your halftime wouldn't come into effect until you got assigned to a job or education or something in those days. So you really didn't end up doing halftime. You ended up doing more than like 2/3 of the time.
Okay, and where did you end up? Where did you end up going to reception at?
I went to what's it called? Wasco State Prison reception center.
And how was the
Usually
experience?
that
Go ahead.
how was what?
I said I was gonna ask you how was the experience? Going to prison. Was it the way you expected it, or was it worse, or was it scary? Were you intimidated? Did you have butterflies in your stomach, or you were you just already
Well,
conditioned going to county and the halls and whatnot?
you would think, right? We think that you know, earlier today you kind of mentioned that how like all these little times, it's really took condition us to really get used to being in there, right? And each each transition, like juvenile hall to county to prison, it's always a new experience. Um, you would think that, oh, well, okay. To begin with, I'm only like I'm like 5'8.5". I weigh like 152 pounds. So I'm not a big statue guy, So everywhere I go, I'm among one of the smaller dudes in the circle. You know what I mean? So when I remember pulling up to the to prison, and like, and even though I've been to the county, prison an intimidating place. Just pulling up on the bus and seeing the fence, the barbed wires, the towers, the gun towers, it's intimidating, and we try to play the part as like, oh yeah, they say nothing, but inside we always feel that little fear. Uh, it could be adrenaline, but I always take it as fear because I think fear drives us to a lot of things. Fear could be, depending on how you manage it. It could keep you on your toes, like it could just cower up, make you cower up. But it always kept me on my toes. I'm not gonna say that I was never scared because everywhere, anything, change in general is scary for anybody. So
And
I
once,
thought that
go ahead, go ahead.
I thought that even though it was a familiar place, it was a new experience with because I wasn't pulling up to just a place where there was just guys doing petty times or petty crimes. It was I was coming to a place where known killers were there, so it was intimidating.
And right now that you mentioned that you pulled up to a place that was serious, what do you remember? Do you recall what your how many points you were I guess assessed to, and what level yard did you end up on?
The first time I ended up in the level three. I had like I think like 40 something points, and that's already in the level three margin.
And a lot of that
I
stuff.
didn't hit a level.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I didn't hit a level four to this um to this term.
Your latest term.
Yeah.
And back in those days when you cut your first term, it was a lot easier to end up on level threes and level fours, right? Especially if you were young. When they would assess you,
Yeah.
like if you were not married, if you didn't have your high school diploma, if you didn't
Yeah.
have any kids, and if you had been to YA, or if you had been arrested as a juvenile, all those things,
Yeah. How many?
they would add points
The
to
amount
your.
of times that
Yep.
yeah, it all added up. They went on a point system and like say that you a lot of us would try to beat the point system to try to go to a lowest possible level, but they would like have you prove it. Like if you would try to say that you were married, oh, we need your marriage certificate. They would try to say we had children. Oh, we need your copies of your kids' birth certificate. You know what I mean? So we were trying to avoid like help ourselves out with lying in our questions to try to keep our system at the lowest possible. But we always and back then the point system was against us. Uh, that's why like there were so many level fours prisons because they were always like everybody that's if you were doing any serious time or you were busted for any serious crime, you were going to end up in the level four. I ended up in the level
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
that I got busted for not serious crime. It was a non-violent crime, so that's what helped me to stay in the level three. And the only reason I went up to a level three was because of my criminal history, or else I would have ended up in the level two or one.
What's the was there any incidents there on your first term that stick out with you that you think about to this day?
Riots. I mean, there's a numerous amount of things. Riots. I remember a particular one that I remember when I don't know what it was about. It was amongst the white race. They ended up packing out one of their own, and in those times, one of the weapons that we used to use were if they weren't knives, were like soap on socks or anything that was heavy on a sock, and beat the person with them. And I remember that I didn't see it myself, but I seen when they took the that person, he was all bloodied up, and um, those who were around him said that they had beat him so bad that one of his eye eyeballs had popped out of his socket. And I remember just because of like when they told me that image ran through my mind, like when I get asked about one of the incidents that I remember about in here, that's one of the ones that come into mind.
And let me ask you, when somebody gets their eye popped out of their socket, can they put it back in, or is it that's it? It's
Yeah,
game
I
over for
did.
that eye.
No, it could be popped in. I don't know if people know that. Usually, when eyes pop out of your socket, they get. I don't know if there will be any type of damage on it for the mere fact that it popped out. But um, that I know of, I've heard that they get put back in because I don't think that they're gonna just take out your eye like that
Yeah.
or cut it off or unless like your eye, I don't know, like, exploded or something. I don't know. I'm not a really. I didn't go to college for medical. I went to college for other reasons.
All right. Um, so you parole, you go home, you get your $200 gate money. What do you do?
Gate money. Yeah. Um, I remember I went to the next day I went to report to my parole officer, and I was young, right? And I was green to the system. I remember when I was in prison and I was about to get out. Like I remember telling the homies, "Hey man, I can't wait till I get out so I could smoke a joint." And but I'll be like, I gotta wait till I go to report and all that. Nah, I remember it being told, that the parole officers really don't trip on yes guy like that, right? So I remember I got out and smoked a joint with my brother, and when I go report the next day to my parole officer, he wants to test me, and they told me as long as you be upfront with him, he's gonna be cool with it, right? So I go and he gives me the bottle to test on the bottle, and I tell him, hey man, I smoked a joint yesterday, and I don't know. I think this my parole officer. I remember his name. He was Sullivan. He was known to be one of the worst officers, parole officers to get. Yeah, he had a reputation, and like he chewed me out. He handcuffed me, threatened me to take me back to court. And I remember I was in the holding tank, stressed the hell out. Like, man, what the hell did I do? Um, he ended up having me sign a paper saying that whenever or if ever I violated parole again, that he was going to take this charge on me, and I was recognizing that I had gotten high and whatnot. But he ended up letting me go that day, but not after fucking making me go through it and having me sit in the fucking holy tank that they have on the parole office um, for a few hours.
And is this the parole office? Is there a parole office in Norwalk that you were going to, or what parole office were you going to?
No, that's because remember that I told you that I had moved out to Orange County.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
This was the one in the city of Orange, because all my family lived in Orange County now. So every time that you're about to parole, you have to have a home to go to before the parole.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And to know to what office they're going to assign you to. And because my parents stayed in Anaheim at the time, I ended up getting the office right there in Orange, city of Orange.
You know what? Let me ask you a question, because somebody asked a question here in the chat and a little while ago, and I haven't asked you yet. They're asking. So 720 Big E is asking, is he with anybody from the Harbor area?
Yeah, there's a group of people here from Harbor area. Harbor area is a pretty big area, so yeah, there's foods from Long Beach, there's foods from um,
San Pedro?
San Pedro. There was another city that I'm trying to remember that's right there by San Pedro. Wilmas.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Wilmington.
Yeah, so there's quite a few food. Everywhere you go, you run into somebody from Harbor area.
I wasn't aware that Long Beach was considered Harbor area.
Yeah, part of the HA.
I'm going to keep that in mind. All right, so your your parole officer throws you into the tank and you're handcuffed and you're thinking you're about to get violated, probably thinking you made the worst mistake of your life.
I mean, I wouldn't say like the worst mistake of my life, but a dumb mistake. I always think I should have waited. Because usually they test you like randomly. Sometimes they will only test you once a month, sometimes once a week. But I was mad. I was like, I should have waited. I knew I should have waited. And see, and how the mind works, I'm in a tank stressing out about why did I get high. I should have waited or whatnot. And the moment that they let me go, that he lets me go, I end up
You have 60 seconds remaining.
going right to the connect, just forgetting about the whole little ordeal that I had gone through, and went straight to the connect to try to look for something to get high on.
Sounds about right. I probably would have done the same thing too.
Yeah, that's how it like our mentality works when we're in that state of mind.
So how long were you able to stay out once you came home?
On that turn, I think I stood out for a few months. Actually, yeah, it was about like 4 or 5 months before I ended up getting busted for the vehicle theft at GTA. The car's about to cut, so let me just.
All right, the call went ahead and cut off, and he should call us back shortly. And remember, if you're just joining us now, this is actually a live. He's currently in prison in Centinela State Prison, and if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and ask them, and he'll go, and I'll go ahead and read them off once we get a moment, and then he'll go ahead and answer them to the best of his ability.
This call is now being
This is
recorded.
Global Tel Link. You have a prepaid call from
Alejandro Romero.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
All right, thank you for calling me back, Alejandro, and I'll go ahead and let you continue.
Yeah, yeah. I was saying, I had just finished doing gone through the little ordeal with well, my parole officer made me go through, and then I get out and just want to go get high again. So,
And once that happened, how long was it that you lasted before you ended up catching a violation or catching a new case?
oh yeah, I think that was I lasted about like 4 or 5 months, I do believe. I think because let me see, I got out in '99, and then okay, well no, actually it was well, I got out in when I got out in that time. That's when the beef that I'm busted for now happened, right? And when that happened, I ended up absconding. I took off to GJ for a couple months because I barely had parole, and I had did what I'm busted for right now, and I thought that I was gonna get. They had gotten my fingerprints. They were gonna find who I was, and they were gonna go arrest me. So I left. I went to TJ, stood out there for a few months, and I ended up coming back in 2000, and I got busted in 2000 for the vehicle theft. I got a two year and a half term with that, and ended up getting out in 2001.
And this time when you ended up in prison, what level prison did you end up in?
That time I ended up I went back to a level 3 and transitioned to a level 2.
And when you're hitting this level 3 yard here, what is it like? Like what are they teaching you? What's the daily routine like? Are you required to work out? Are you what are the requirements, to in being on a level 3 yard GP?
Um, that um, if your service are required, um, if a favor is asked of you, you need to uh, do it, or else it's you who's going to be dealt with sooner or later. Um, mandatory daily routine, um, but that's mostly anywhere you go, and really, that's for us. They do that for us to stay in shape, just in case something happens that they don't, you know, we don't get caught off all week and shit. Um, Basically that. Of course, there's no stealing amongst each other, um, no snitching, no telling. Uh, just really, basically the what you heard, mainly what it is.
And let me ask you a question. This is kind of off topic, but it's been going around in YouTube, and I wanted to ask. So, is it ever okay, or has anybody ever given okay for anybody from down south to tell on a black person? Is it ever okay for?
This no, they say that because it's something, um, it's another race, and it's a race that we usually have war with. That it's okay to do it. It's kind of like if you were to tell on like an norteño, or on a cop or something like that. But really, in reality, if your paperwork shows that you are telling on somebody, they're not going to sit there and ask questions of who.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
All they do is check your paperwork, and if your paperwork's good, you're good, and if it's not good, then you're gonna get that one. If it shows that you're telling, you're gonna get that one.
But like let's say like a scenario, hypothetical scenario here. Like so you got a celly, okay, and then your celly drops a kite on the black population. Let's say some dude, he has cell phones, and your celly drops a kite to let the cops know that they have cell phones in their cell. Would that be okay?
Yeah. No. 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 It still wouldn't be okay.
And if something like that did happen, like let's say you said you ended up finding
Because
out by
that.
accident. Let's say like your celly's dropping some paperwork, you look at it, like he leaves out of the room, and then you look at his paper, and you see what it says. What would happen to your celly if you saw something like that?
Oh. Well, obviously, he's gonna get dealt with, whether it's at the moment in time when that information is being read, or if whoever reads it acts like he didn't see nothing, and then goes out and reports it out to the yard. But one way or another, if it's discovered, yeah, he's gonna get dealt with.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for clarifying on that right there. So, you're in a level 3. You go down to a level 2. How does a level 2 differentiate, or how is it different from a level 3?
Oh man, it's like night and day. Level three enforce their structure. Uh, there's it's cell living, more quiet, more respect, and level 2 it's like more wild, and it's it's not that they don't there's no respect or that there's no structure. There's still structure and respect, but it's because it's more loose. There's no kind of like there's no really no politics. Like there is, but not the full extent of it. You know what I mean? Because uh, in the upper yards that you have your shot callers, and in the lower yards, that really nobody has those like like nobody. There's no shot callers in level two or level one. Because everybody's really so close to going home that they're just there really to do their time.
Okay.
And yeah, mine that this when I was there, this was late '90s, early 2000s. Um, right now, a lot of things have changed, so uh, like I couldn't. So how they are now, I haven't been in the level two in years, years. So, but I could assume that it's still the same thing.
So on this on the GTA case, how much time did you end up doing after you were sentenced?
I did like 13 months.
And for a GTA, that was also halftime too, right?
Yeah, I got half time. Any non-violent crimes, usually you get half time.
So by this time, this was you were what? This was your second prison term. Were you already
Yeah,
comfortable with the prison system at this time?
yeah, I was already familiar with it. I was already used to it. So the times that I came back, of course, we don't like to be in there in here. You know what I mean? So it's always a bummer. But it wasn't like when I first pulled up the first time in Wasco.
And during this time, were you ever asked to do anything? Any removals or like on movies you see that you have to hide stuff and you use your prison suitcase. Did you ever have to do any of these things?
No, luckily where I landed, it wasn't too many tracks that we had to remove. So I was involved in a couple of riots, and um, but like removals, no, I wasn't any part of them. I was not part of them. I didn't get to get involved with some of those. Probably because I was, you know, I know they probably I was short to the pad, and they didn't want me to like catch more time or not, because there were a few I seen a couple removals, but I was never asked to participate in them.
And earlier on the first time that you went to county jail, you ended up in LA County Jail. And then on the second time around, you ended up in Santa Ana Jail or County Jail or Theo Lacey. How how
Yeah.
different is Los Angeles County Jail from Theo Lacey? And do you feel like you were treated different because you were not from Orange County? You're originally from LA County. Was there any favoritism um, for people
Yeah.
that were from Orange County
Yeah.
opposed to LA County?
So you're asking like different as in within us, or like how the system ran?
Well, everything. I mean, I think in general the system, whether it's the court
Yeah.
system and the internal politics, I think they tend to run differently from LA County and to compared to
Yeah.
Orange County.
Yeah, they're way different. In LA is a very fast pace. There's always there's a lot of like, man, you gotta be on your toes at all times. In Orange County, you were able to relax a little bit. Um, but for the fact that because I was from LA, um, I did we did in those days. Now LA is more involved in everywhere you go, so like we're more welcome now. But back in the days, in those days, like there were very few of us, and we used to kick it together. Um, the homies from Orange County always extended their hands to us, of course.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
But it's like we were kept at our distance. They didn't want us to get involved into their politics. They didn't want us to have any type of power there. Um, and that's within us, but like in the jail itself, like man, like I said, you went to LA County Jail, and like you gotta be strong to survive there. And I don't mean that just within the inmates. I mean that with like the amount of food they feed you. Like they don't let you out to they don't give you no break time. We were in our cells 24/7. We have freeway Freddy running all over the streets, all over the tier. So if you had any type of canteen, you had to keep it up high, because, or else your freeway Freddy was like get into your food. Um, Showers, they would run them every like 3-4 days, and like they would let a whole tier at a time, and giving us like 3 minutes to shower. Um, yeah, it was LA County was miserable, and I went to Orange County though. Over there was cool, man. It was like going to Camp Snoopy compared from to LA County Jail. Like they were in, the food was great. Uh, we, we used to. They had a big old recreation area with grass growing out of it and all kind of stuff. So it was like complete change of scenery, man. I was like, man, I could do time here all the time, shit.
And for people that are not familiar with Freeway Freddy, can you go ahead and elaborate who Freeway Freddy is, and how big Freeway Freddy was?
You have 60 seconds remaining.
That's our pet rat that runs around the tier at night, like the size of a small chihuahua. Like to put it nicely. Um, yeah, every night, and I remember we always used to try to catch them, put little traps out, trying to like have them come up underneath the bunk, and somebody would be right there with a chancla ready to try to smack them. And yeah, it was funny. I don't know, it was like a whole different trip in those times. It's gonna get cut off.
You're gonna call me back?
Yeah, let me call you back.
All right.
Maybe for 60 seconds, right?
Yeah. She's about to cut us off.
Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you. All right, and thank you for tuning in. We're about to be hitting an hour and 38 minutes, so I think we're gonna do one more call, and then after this call, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna have to do a part 2 on this one. So stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're alerted whenever new content is uploaded. Which is right now I've been trying to upload like every day, so we got a lot of stuff coming your way.
This call is now being recorded.
This is Global Tel-Link. You have a prepaid call from
Alejandro Romero.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel-Link.
Okay, Alejandro, thank you for calling me back. And I was just mentioning to the audience, we currently have 4 people in here. I was just letting them know that this is probably going to be the last call right now, and then we're going to have to do a part 2.
Okay.
All right. So, perfect. Thank you. And then another thing I wanted to touch on from LA County is I think LA County is very unsanitary.
Yes.
It's
Very.
There were I remember there being like blankets and trash just piled up in the corners, especially if you're in one of those in cell living. And
Yeah.
and then for like the showers, I remember like in the dorms and whatnot, a lot of the times those showers were broken, and nobody would even use those showers, because a lot of the times you didn't have shower shoes and whatnot, and you didn't want to step in none of that crap that was on that floor, man.
No,
Who knows, what they were
we
doing in that
were
damn shower.
we were showering with our shoes on. Um, they the mattresses were always basically sleeping in the bare metal. Um, the like the tier itself, everywhere you walk, man, it had this smell. You know, that yeah, it's kind of like hard to explain the smell, but mildew is kind of like mildew with like yeah, it's hard to explain, but that was one of the things that I see in those times too. I think I don't know if you remember that there was always controversies with the sheriffs um, because of like how they were running the county jails. Um, they wouldn't do the proper security check, like you said.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
They weren't all working, but they would put like 50 people in there one shot, and those. And believe it or not, even though they were like uh, unsanitary, they were dirty, they weren't all working, and they were crowded. A lot of people would shower because um, when we don't shower, we burp bath in ourselves. A burp bath is, we fill up the sink with water, put a towel on the ground, get a cup, and like the birds do on the water fountain, splash the water on top of you to shower to clean up. Um, but after a while, like the bird baths don't give you that um, it's not that like when you go into a shower you feel the pressure of the water falling on you that helps you scrub off the dirt. You feel cleaner for some reason. An actual shower helps. At least for me, that's how I feel. Um, and just imagine like 30, 40 men in a shower that's about the size of what I would say like maybe like 8 by 10 area, with like maybe like 10 shower heads, but there's like 30 or 40 people in there trying to hurry up, and we have a limited time of like 5 minutes for everybody to shower. So just try to imagine how that would go. You know, um, there were just so many things wrong with that place. That's why like. And I will always sustain it. If you've done time in LA County Jail in those times, I don't know how it is now because I haven't been in LA County for a while. Um, After that one time, I started getting busted in Orange County, and then once I came to the joint, I never went back to the county jail. Uh, but um, if you had done time in LA County jails, like, I believe if you did time there, you could do time anywhere because how it was, yeah, not many people like could deal with that, could bear with it.
Right now, just a moment ago, you mentioned security. I do recall this one time. I was in a dorm. I don't remember what floor I was on, but at that time, they were just pretty much they weren't mixing any races at that time. Something had happened,
No,
so pretty much all the Hispanics they were keeping them in one place, and then the blacks they were keeping them somewhere else. I think they did have some whites with the Hispanics, but I remember this one time
yeah,
that it was all Hispanics in the dorm, and for whatever reason, and I'm pretty sure they did this on purpose. They brought a black gentleman in, and they you know
mm,
they they told him that this was his housing unit.
beat them.
he he walked in, he was walking around, and then like he was confused, like he's looking for his people, and then and then somebody goes up to him and they're like, hey, they don't, you guys are not in here, but hey, you're more than welcome to stay if you want. You could sleep over here. And then the dude thought about it and he was like, hell no. He called the deputy came and took him out. But now that right
And you
there,
know what?
go ahead.
I was gonna say, and he got lucky that that was the best case scenario because, it, see, I was there in '97, right? And when I was there, we were still integrated. It wasn't until '98 where something happened in Pelican Bay that caused a wave all the way down from up north California all the way down to down south, all prisons, all county jails, which was there was blacks were on site, and that's why they segregated everybody because there were so many riots and so much bloodshed because of those orders that they segregated they separated everybody. So if he was able to go in there and somebody was went up to him just and told him that that was like the best case scenario. If it would have been anywhere else, uh, he would have left there in a stretcher. I
Absolutely.
remember that time when that happened.
In county jail, or where did that occur in?
Well, it started in Pelican Bay State Prison. It was a big old riot with the homies and the blacks, and it caused a wave. The orders were off to set off everywhere, so all prisons started going setting off riots, blacks against Mexicans, um, over something that happened in Pelican Bay. Up to this now, I couldn't tell you exactly what it was for. Um, but the orders were given, and that's when all county jails separated the blacks with the Mexicans because the moment that they crossed paths, that you saw.
Hold on, my thing just disconnected. I think my internet might be a little bit rough right now. Okay, we're back on. So, the first time I hit county, I got, you know what? I actually got lucky. Now that I think about it, I just came out of camp. I was 18 years old, um, and I was still on probation. So they had me going to the probation office all the way down there in Imperial and I think Imperial and Normandy. All right, so I went to visit my probation officer one time, and then after that, he was like, you know what, you live across town, why don't you meet up with me at the police station right there off of King and Western? I was all right, then cool. So I went down there like 3, 4 times, and every time I would go, he would never show up. So by the time like the fourth or fifth time came around, I'm like, man, I'm not gonna go meet up with this fool. I'm gonna go waste my time. Like I'm standing out there at the, I'm waiting for him outside the police station, and then like the cops are driving by and looking at me, and I'm like, man, like screw this. So then I had a court date like in June. I got out of camp in February, and I had to go to court in June. And when I went to court, as soon as I went in, I got there late. I knocked on the door. I used to go to Department 202 on East Lake, Carol Hollowitz.
Okay.
And so I knocked the door. I gave my name. They're like, hey, step inside. Boom. As soon as I stepped inside, they're like, hey, take off your shoelaces, take off your belt, and and they threw me
Oh, yeah.
into that tank. You remember that tank that was right there in East Lake Court?
Yeah.
Okay. So so I went into the adult tank, and then you heard everybody like, this fool's going to county jail. This fool, it's all bad. So, and I remember, being on those benches and
Uh,
seeing dudes, like that would end up in those tanks, and then everybody, would be all scared. So then, so I ended up, I went back into court, and they're like, hey, okay, look, I think I had like 100 hours of JAWS, and I refused to do it. I'm not gonna do 100 hours of JAWS. That's crazy. So I was like, man, I'd rather just do the time. So what the judge ended up doing, she ended up
yeah.
giving me 30 days in county jail. So I got my first taste of county jail, pretty much for free, without having to, commit a new crime. I got a taste of it, went up
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And during that time that I went there, I ended up in a 6-man cell. It was 3 blacks and 3 Hispanics. And one of the dudes that was there, he was black. And we ended up getting transferred up to Wayside together. And that dude, he was trying to start a riot. And I was like, oh man, I just got here. I don't want to be in a riot.
Yeah.
But then, like after
I
that, the
just
rest of
think
my other
yeah.
trips going to county, it's always been segregated. It was up until the last time I went. I think I hit county in 2001, and I came home in 2001, 2002, and I never went back. But it was segregated from that point on. Everybody was separated.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember. I didn't. I didn't hit the county jail after LA County Jail after that one time that I was there. And when I was in Orange County in Theo Lacey, there's hardly any blacks out there. So the few that are there, um, I hardly ever ran into them. I was always in area where there was always raza. So I had heard about what had happened with all the segregation and whatnot, and because of all the riots and what had happened. But I know that you hear things about when the riots and for the most part, like if we're anything involved in a certain lifestyle, you're used to fighting, you're used to like tension like around you at all times. You know what I mean? And but it's never how you always hear it. Every time when you experience it for the first time, it's always like never like how you imagine it would be. You know, um, being involved in the first riots that I was in, I remember I was scared shitless, eh? Like especially with some of the fierros that I had seen, like, when they were making there, like, man, you see some of the knives that are being made, like one of those knives would go through like my full body, man. Someone coming in and it will go right through me. It's the size of the knives that they're making here, eh? And that was always on my mind. Oh, just be careful. Just always watch out. Look at everybody's hands. Make sure that they don't have nothing that they're going to stab you with, eh? And that's like the main concern. So, and over there in West Side, it was one of those places that you hardly, riots really didn't kick off that.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
People that are there already, they're doing their time, and they want to like do your time and go home. You know what I mean? Places that in the old county where everybody's fighting their cases, they don't care because a lot of times you're fighting a lot of time, and riots and fights are a way out, like to release your anger, to release your stress, and sometimes
Yeah.
it helps, sometimes it just makes things worse.
Yeah, it was different. It was like day and night. Like people were looking forward to go to. Some people were looking forward to go to Wayside. Some people weren't. It all depended
Yeah,
on their mindset.
yeah. Well, the majority of them, you already sentenced when you went to Westside. Yeah, I mean, a lot of them were still fighting cases, but for the most part, people were already doing their time and were being placed.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
All right, so she's already let us know that we're down to 60 seconds, and so right now, I think this will be it for now. We're gonna go ahead and do it part two. Would you be available tomorrow at the same time, about at 4 o'clock?
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and conclude the this interview, and then we'll continue tomorrow, and we're gonna get deeper into your story, where I'm pretty sure it's gonna have a lot of a bunch of twists and things that you never expected happen to you will happen to you.
Yeah, yeah. That's the least say, but sounds like a plan.
All right, cool. Thank you, and have a good night, and we'll be looking forward to speaking to you tomorrow.
All right then.
Okay.
Talk to you then, Jay.
All right, cool. Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay. Bye.
And for our audience, I'm gonna go ahead and be cutting the stream off now, and go ahead and don't forget to go ahead and hit the like, the subscribe, and hit the notification bell, so you'll get the notifications as soon as we go live.